Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Welcome to another episode of Dan's Disco Deep Dives, looking at the Easter eggs, hidden bits, canon connections, and theories for the new episodes of Star Trek Discovery. This week, we're taking a look at Episode 9 of Season 2, Project Daedalus. Project Daedalus was written by Michelle Paradise, who is slated to become co-showrunner for Star Trek Discovery beginning with Season 3, along with Alex Kurtzman. The episode was directed by Star Trek veteran Jonathan Frakes, the third episode of Discovery that Frakes has directed. The title of the episode presumably has something to do with the Daedalus myth from Greek mythology. While we don't know exactly what Project Daedalus is, as it is only name-dropped by Ariam at the very end of the episode, we might gather some clues from other sources. In Greek mythology, Daedalus was the father of Icarus. Imprisoned within a labyrinth by King Minos, Daedalus and his son devised a plan to escape using wings made of wax. They succeeded, but Icarus flew too close to the sun. His wax wings melted, and he fell to his death. This may have some connection to the winged red angel mystery that has been surrounding Season 2. In Star Trek lore, Daedalus has been used a number of times. First, there was a class of starship from the early days of the Federation designated Daedalus class. There was also an episode of Star Trek Enterprise entitled Daedalus, which was an allegory for the father and son relationship between Emery Erickson, who invented the transporter, and his son, who was lost due to an accident caused by his own father's invention. Looking beyond these examples, there is also Project Daedalus, a British space exploration study from the 1970s, which looked into the feasibility of an interstellar probe to explore other star systems. While I don't think the Project Daedalus mentioned by Ariam has anything to do with this, it is yet another avenue of speculation. We get a close look at Admiral Cornwell's shuttle at the very beginning of this episode, and it seems to be sporting a pretty nifty paint scheme. It makes me wonder if there are some hippie admirals cruising around the galaxy in shuttles like this. Shortly after Admiral Cornwell comes aboard Discovery, Tilly pipes up that she's not a fugitive, but did go through, quote, a rebellious phase when she was 16. This was a nice surprise, a direct reference to the events of the novel The Way to the Stars by Una McCormick. She even mentions her experience at computer hacking, referring to her override of her school's security system when she ran away at age 16. Hey look, it's Spock's brain. I wonder if we'll ever get a story centering around this particular cerebellum.
Brain and brain, what is brain?
In my review video, I mistakenly said that we never see the 100% accurate lie detector test again in Star Trek. This is one instance where my usually pretty good memory of Star Trek canon failed me. As I realized shortly after publishing the video, and having had a couple of viewers point it out to me, I forgot that we see the 100% accurate lie detector in a couple of episodes of TOS, most notably Wolf in the Fold.
I'm not lying, Captain. I don't remember a thing about the first two murders.
Computer, accuracy scan.
Subject relaying accurate account. No physiological changes.
Spock describes his trademark takedown as being colloquially referred to as the Vulcan nerve pinch. I believe this is the first time it is referred to by name in Star Trek. Back in the days of the original series, it was referred to by the production team as the famous Spock neck pinch, or FSNP. Although it was already apparent, we get firm confirmation in this episode that Commander Non, Discovery's interim security chief, is a Barzan. They were featured in one episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, The Price, in which the Barzan government hosted bids for a recently discovered supposedly stable wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant in their star system. Cottiscot, a game played on Star Trek Voyager usually by Neelix, Naomi Wildman, and 7 of 9, gets name-dropped in this episode. Both Ariam and Tilly are apparently experts at the game, which they frequently play with Lieutenants Detmer and Owoshikun. Speaking of games, three-dimensional chess, which is pretty ubiquitous in Star Trek the original series, makes another appearance in Star Trek Discovery. Frequently during TOS, Spock would play three-dimensional chess against Captain Kirk and other opponents. In this episode, Burnham proposes using it to help Spock return to a logical frame of mind. When the boarding party beams aboard the Section 31 installation, the environment is reminiscent of the Klingon ship Kronos 1 in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Frozen globules of blood float in the eerie corridor. But did you notice this tiny detail? What looks like a partially eaten apple floats through the scene. We've seen one character this season munching on the red fruit, and she is connected to Section 31. Is this a connection, coincidence, or something else? Your guess is as good as mine. At the very end of the episode, Arium implores Burnham to eject her into space before she can cause any more harm to Discovery or her crew. The result is an incredibly emotional scene as Arium says goodbye and asks Burnham to tell everyone that she loves them. This is just the latest in a long line of extremely emotional scenes involving characters on either side of glass. The closeness, combined with the separation, makes this a dramatic conceit too good to pass up for many writers and directors. As usual, before I get to the theory section of the video, I want to share some of your comments from last week's deep dive video with some of your theories about what's going on in Season 2. Paul Kinnear says, I think there's a causality loop / temporal paradox at play here. Section 31 wants access to Spock's memories to see any future threats, and their reaction to these threats will lead them into giving Control more power. Control will then go full Ultron and cause the apocalypse they're trying to avoid. This will lead to Discovery to go into hiding, see Calypso, and somehow finagling the Red Angel to go back and stop everything going pear-shaped in the first place. I still have no idea who the Red Angel is, though. Very good theory made before this last week's episode aired, so very close on that. Obviously, Section 31's actions are being undertaken directly by Control, and I think you're right about it going full Ultron. It is trying to create an artificial intelligence with consciousness, so very good theorizing there. I like where this is going. Stress-Free K says, I think there's consensus around two different factions from the future, Calypso style. Ever since Georgiou mentioned Leland killing Burnham's parents, it made me think the parents have got to be the Red Angels. This is a theory I've seen around a bit as well, casually dropping that line from Georgiou that Leland was responsible for Burnham's parents' death. Does make me think that that's going to play a role in the rest of the season, you know, Chekhov's gun style. Why would they bring it up if it's not going to have an impact? So, you know, I have seen that maybe the Red Angel is Burnham's birth mother, for example, and I'd love to see if maybe that's the direction the story's going in. Silver Surfer has a theory, and they managed to comment this one after the most recent episode had aired. Could the AI in the Short Trek episode Calypso be Arium? She did transfer her memories into the Discovery computer. Perhaps the remnants of her mind was transferred also. Depending on how her brain looked like, she may have had some precursor to the positronic brain Data had, maybe added or grafted onto her real brain. Wouldn't be completely impossible if her brain patterns were transferred so that she in a sense could live on, and maybe hint towards Eric Soong, which research may have created her body. Definitely an interesting theory. I love linking Eric Soong's work on cybernetics at the end of the Enterprise trilogy that he was in to the possible origin of some of Arium's cybernetic implants. That's a very good connection there. I like that. I do wonder about Arium being in the Discovery computer. It was just her memories that were transferred, and maybe there's some other quality in her brain besides those that makes her who she is. So, you know, I don't know how much of her consciousness could be there, but it's definitely a good thought. And they, of course, like they said, they did make a point to say that most of her memories had been transferred to Discovery, so it's very possible they could use that to recreate Arium somehow. For the theory I'm putting forward this week, it's a theory that I don't personally think is right, but I saw something similar to this online. It caught my eye, and I kind of love it, so I'm taking this theory and adding a little bit of my own. What if Commander Nan is actually Section 31 and working for Control? Throughout this episode, we see her keeping a close eye on Arium, seemingly suspicious of her activities. However, nothing ever comes of this. Nan never really confronts her or stops her from doing her work for Section 31 until the very end of the episode. What if Nan was actually keeping an eye on her to make sure that she does complete her mission for Section 31? But, you ask, why did she hit the airlock control to space Arium at the end of the episode if she wants Control to succeed? To that I say, watch that scene again very closely. Arium doesn't know Nan is in on it, which is why she attacks her. Nan wants to remain embedded on Discovery for some nefarious purpose, so she doesn't tip her hand by taking Burnham out. Instead, she gives Arium as much time as she possibly can to complete her mission, and only opens the airlock when Arium begins to spill the beans about the mysterious Project Daedalus. Non is therefore executing her before she can give Burnham vital intelligence. Now, there are a lot of holes in that theory, and before people start jumping down my throat about it, I don't personally believe it myself, but I thought it was a fascinating angle to look at the events of this episode through. So, how about all of you? What are your thoughts and theories about Project Daedalus, and where do you see things going from here? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all, as usual, so much for watching, and thanks especially to the Patreon supporters for helping out with the channel. Once again, I want to remind you that I will add new Patreon supporters at the start of next month, so if you don't see your name here and you have recently become a patron of the channel, have no fear, be patient, you will see your name there soon. Thank you for liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and sharing this video with anyone you think might appreciate it. Until next time, I'll see you on the other side of a sheet of plexiglass in a very dramatic scene.